Okay, this is a Board of Health meeting, May 14th, 2020. Can we have a motion to open the meeting?
I'll make a motion to open the meeting.
A second motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
This meeting is going to be video and audio taped, and I'd like to have a silence for a few minutes there for Larry Mulvey. He passed away. Mr. Fortin informed me of this tonight, so I would like to have a little silence for Mr. Mulvey. Okay, are we all set, fellas?
Yes.
Can you all hear me?
Yep.
Okay, we're going to open up the meeting here. This is a notice here given by the Acushnet Board of Health. We'll hold a meeting on Thursday, May 14th, 2020 at 6 p.m. The meeting will be held remotely at the Board of Health office located at 130 Main Street. Due to the concern surrounding the coronavirus pandemic, this meeting will remain closed to the public. There are no scheduled public hearings and there will be no public comments, period. Live video and audio of the meeting will be aired on Comcast Local Channel 18. A recording of the meeting will also be posted on the Town of Acushnet YouTube channel. Okay, we're going to call everything to order here, and we're going to do some discussion here about March 26th emergency order regarding closing recycle center. And I'm going to read off what we've got that we did. Just give me a second here. Okay, this was March 26th, I'm sorry, 2020. Attention, Roger Cabral, Chairman, Recycling Center. Dear Mr. Cabral and members of the board, on Thursday, March 26th, 2020, the Board of Health convened an emergency meeting via conference call, 3 members. The voters voted to order the recycling center closed until the governor has ended the state of emergency. This is due to the worldwide outbreak of COVID-19 and the effects of the extreme risk of person-to-person transmission throughout the United States and the Commonwealth, significantly affected the life and health of people and the disaster that impacts the health and safety of the public. Furthermore, the Governor of the Commonwealth of Mass has issued a declaration of emergency on March 10th, 2020, and determined that the immediate public action is needed to prevent, minimize, and multigrade damage to the public health, safety, or general welfare of people to the Commonwealth. Any comments on that, fellas?
No, sir.
Just one thing that was done, of course, keeping in mind that we follow all of what the governor and the DPH has been recommending for the Board of Health in the state of Massachusetts. So that was the reason why we followed through with that. I thought it was an excellent move on the Board of Health, and we have to continue to keep following what the governor is recommending. That's a comment. That's my comment.
David?
My only comment is I was a little disappointed in reading a Standard Times article relative, and they threw Acushnet in with Lakeville. Lakeville is a town where they do not have curbside pickup for recyclable materials, and we do. So the governor's order, I believe, states that recycling is essential, but that's why we have curbside pickup. And closing the recycle center was above, and it was because that's essentially unnecessary because we have curbside recycling pickup, and that's recycle center being open just for lawn waste and things of that nature, or people who like to go there directly, wasn't necessary, and to me it wasn't essential, and that was my position on the matter.
Okay.
But one of the statement that Fortunately, trash pickup and recycling is automated, so there aren't any people touching anything. Everything is done through the vehicle, through Howland that picks up the trash. So it was stated, the selectman did make a comment that picking up the trash would be the same, or recycling would be the same, but it's not because it's automated. So that would just be a comment to making sure that everybody was safe throughout the pickups. So opening the recycling center would have been a mistake, still to this point, and it would affect the health and welfare of most of the people that work for the town, and also for the people, of the community, and it protects the selectmen, number one, and us, because of the declaration that we've signed. Just a little instance, if somebody was to get ill, sick, unfortunately die, which is a possibility throughout this whole pandemic, I believe the town would be in great danger as far as somebody, coming up with a lawsuit. So I think the move on the Board of Health was the correct one to do.
Right. Well, I agree also, and that's why we had that meeting. And what would happen is if we didn't close it at that time, that if something did happen, they would have said the Board of Health should have closed that down and not have it open.
Exactly.
And then we would have been pinned for it. But we all have big shoulders. We've gone through a lot of tough times, and this is one of the tough times that we've gone through. And I think we did the right decision at the time when we did it. And we have good advice from Joe. He's up on everything that we look at, and plus what we look at through the TV and, the news medias and all. And I think that we did the right decision at the time. Okay, any other comments, fellas?
I want to make a motion to keep that on file.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
I
Motion passes to keep on file, to be filed. Okay, second, it'll be March 29th, emergency order regarding rescheduling large item pickup. Basically, we were never informed about the pickup, so, we just acted upon what we should have done, and we did. And I'm going to read the letter that we sent out to the Board of Selectmen. This was March 29th, 2020. This is again, attention Roger Cabral, Chairman, regards large item pickup. Mr. Cabral, and members of the board, excuse me for 1 second, okay? Hey, Joe, can you turn on the light in here, please?
Mr. Chairman, is that date correct, March 29th? I don't think that order was issued.
March 20, that's what we got here.
I know it's on the agenda written that way, but I believe it was more of April 29th, was it not?
No, this is March 29th. This one was March 29th too.
That's right.
This is the large item.
This is for the large item, David.
It was the end of the
I'm aware
month.
of that, but I thought that the large item pickup was,
Scheduled for April 2nd, I think, to begin.
no, it was scheduled for May.
It was scheduled for May 7th, right?
No, the first Saturday of May, it was supposed to start, and I believe the order was issued the Thursday prior to that, which was April 29th.
That might be correct. Yep.
I know we didn't have
Yep.
an emergency meeting 3 days apart. It was a month later
Yep.
that we
Yep.
had a meeting.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
It's an
correct.
error. It is an error.
Okay.
Okay, Joe, just pick
It was April 29th and not March.
Correct.
So that we're going to change that date to April 29th.
The agenda should be corrected. Yes, the agenda says March 29th. It was an April 29th order, not a March 29th order.
April, what was the date again, David?
29th.
I think it was April 29th.
Okay,
The month is wrong on the agenda, that's all.
okay, I'll still read this letter out.
You want to close that?
No, can you put the light on?
Oh, yeah.
Excuse me, fellas, it's a little dark in here. Looks light, but it's not. Yeah, that's better. Okay, it's a lot about the large item pickup, dear Mr. Cabral and members of the board. in order to protect the health and welfare, wellness, and the Acushnet public work employees who provide essential services to the town. On Wednesday, April 29th, 2020, the Board of Health convened an emergency meeting VIA conference called. Three members were present and voted that the Acushnet Spring Lodge item curbside pickup scheduled for Saturday, May 2nd, 2020 was not essential and ordered the Acushnet Board of Health to reschedule the large item curbside pickup to a date no earlier than June 6, 2020, unless the governor of the Commonwealth extends the non-essential order to a date beyond. This is due to the worldwide outbreak of COVID-19 and the effects of the extreme risk of person-to-person transmission throughout the United States and the Commonwealth sufficiently affected the life and health of our people and the disaster that impacts the health and safety to the public. Furthermore, the Governor of Commonwealth of Mass has issued a declaration of emergency on March 10th, 2020, and determined that the immediate public action is needed to prevent, minimize, and mitigate damage to the public health, safety, and general welfare of people in the Commonwealth. Any other comments on that? I know that we
No.
were informed of what was going on at that time when they made that action to have that large item pickup, and then we acted upon it
It's,
to
it's the same case as
the first one.
the recycling center. It's the same issue. It's it was due to keeping the safety of everybody and making those correct decisions by the Board of Health. I think were definitely worked out well. So I believe, the big item pickup, it's been a big issue. We're definitely going to do it. To hold it off another month, if that's possible, I'm sure we can make it work. When the governor tells us that we can open up to these non-essential situations. So I still feel that the board needs to hold on before we allow them to open and allow the big item pickup. So just following what we talked about previously as far as the other recycling situation.
David?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have a couple of comments. One, I think there was a little bit of a lack of communication between the Board of Selectmen's office and our office. I'm not going to point fingers at either department because we did get together real quick before it was going to happen. And when I spoke with Joe that week, it is true, I'm on the water system, so I did receive a letter. But truthfully, I don't even look at my mail. My better half takes care of that kind of stuff. And I really didn't, I assumed all along that the bulky item pickup would not proceed because of the governor's order, which was in place.
Yep.
So when we talked about it that week, it was last minute, and there were residents that didn't know, and they have stuff put out there. I apologize for that happening, but the bottom line is there should have been better communication between the Board of Health office from the Selectman's office about proceeding with that. And then perhaps, we could have given residents a better alert to it not happening.
Right.
It holds true that, the town was asking our BPW employees to pick up furniture, cloth furniture that people have been sitting in and using and putting in trucks, and this is all physical labor. There was absolutely no need for it to happen during the governor's order, and I truly think we did the right thing. And lastly, I watched a selectmen's meeting not that long ago where I was very disappointed in the talk by the chairman. I think in tough times like this, our selectmen, especially the chairman of the Board of Selectmen, should show leadership qualities and bring boards together, not try and separate boards apart by pointing fingers and making accusations of conflict of interest, if you will. I found that very insulting as a board member, and I think it was uncalled for. And I think he owes us an apology for what he said. And again, I just think it's a pure lack of leadership and unprofessional on his part for what he did. Because I know in my heart we did the right thing. And I don't think it's going to hurt anybody to hold off on another month. And if there's some reason they can't happen in June, it has to go to July, it's not the end of the world, because I just don't think it's worth putting people at risk. And that's all I have to say about it.
Yes, very
I
good,
agree.
David. The thing is, I discussed this with Joe prior to this, and supposedly that furniture and couches and chairs or whatever they have putting out, if someone did have this virus and they put it out, this stays in the furniture for a considerable amount of time. And if we had our town workers going out there picking up this thing, they could come down with something that somebody already had. And I think that we as board members and a health agent, I think we did the proper thing of not picking up the large waste. I mean, we have time for that, like you said, David and Tom. We have time for that. If you probably had the furniture in your house for 5 or 10 years or maybe longer. What's another month or two? It ain't gonna hurt nobody, you know? So I think that we did the right thing, and I always stick to my guns. When I make a decision, I stick to my guns. Can we have a motion to place this on file?
I'll make a motion to file.
Second motion.
All in favor?
I,
Motion passes to file. Okay, the May 7th, modified March 26th orders regarding Recycle Center. Okay, this is May 7th, 2020, Board of Selectmen, attention Roger Cabral, Chairman, regards Recycle Center. Dear Mr. Cabral and members of the board, on Wednesday, May 7th, 2020, the Board of Health convened an emergency meeting via conference call. 3 members were present in order to modify the Board of Health's order dated March 26, 2020. The board voted to allow a limited reopening of the Recycle Center on Friday, May 8th, 2020, to allow for the residents to dispose of yard waste only, grass, leaves, and branches. I want to emphasize that it was only for grass, leaves, and branches. While the following conditions: 1, disposal of yard waste only, grass, leaves, and branches. 2, hours of operation will temporarily be set to Friday and Saturday from 8 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. And I'm going to say that again. Hours of operation will be temporarily be set to Fridays and Saturdays from 8 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. 3, allow for only 1 vehicle at a time to unload while maintaining a 6 feet from any person. 4, allow 2 DPW personnel will work. 1 employee will allow 1 of the vehicles at a time to dump. 1 other oversees the dumping and ensures the yard waste is being disposed of properly. 5, face coverings shall be worn by all residents entering the recycle center. Now, I asked Joe about if we were going to check on it, and he says he did. Before we have a little discussion on this, Joe, we check upon this to make sure that the people were following our rules?
On Friday, when they opened, I was there, and everybody was in there with a mask on, talking to the DPW, the superintendent, Dan Bernard, superintendent of public works. Everything went incredibly smooth, and residents did what they were asked to do
Oh, very
on
good.
the Friday and the Saturday. Yep.
Very good. Hey, Tom, any comments?
again, you know, opening it up, there were some comments made. I'm not going to point fingers, like Dave said. I mean, there were comments made, well, why didn't they open it sooner? It took us some time to figure out exactly, the DPW to figure out exactly how to set it up, how to make it the safest as possible, as Joe stated. The way they did it, they said it worked out very well. They kind of liked the way it's going, and it's keeping things in order. So, and it's keeping everybody safe and distant. So it works out well. You have 1 DPW worker outside the gate directing people in, 1 at a time, or however they were doing it, and you have somebody in the machine in the back directing them And then, of course, viewing, making sure that they're not dumping anything beside the brush in the waste, because somebody can throw things, underneath that.
Right.
And so they were making sure that was done correctly. And everything that I heard from Mr. Menard was, like Joe said, it went perfect.
Very good, very good.
They
David?
kind of like the way it's going, and probably would continue to do that in the future.
Okay, very good. David, any comments?
I guess, yeah, a few comments. The reason we decided to open is because the BPW superintendent and our agent worked out a pretty clean plan, minimizes the number of workers to go there. People have to keep in mind that, a lot of the workforce is not allowed to even go into their offices, and we have PPW members who they're part of the essential staff, and they have to go to work, whether they like it or not. And this is above and beyond their normal work hours. And you have to have people that are willing to put their time in and sacrifice and do that on a Saturday. I know Friday's during our regular day, but Saturday certainly isn't. And we have to make sure that they're comfortable doing it, not forcing somebody to do it. And all things came together. It took time. And again, apologize to the public if they made a run over there and it wasn't open 2 weeks prior to that or what have you. But we did the best we could to make sure we protect everybody that's working for the town and people that are entering and exiting the place. And I'm glad to hear that people are wearing masks, Joe, because the few places that I do go out in public that are mandatory, whether it be a supermarket or the post office, I still see to this day, there's always that one person who just wants to flaunt the simple task of wearing a mask, and I just beside myself that people can't just all work together and do the right thing, So I think we did the right thing. It took a little time, but it's up and operational and people are using it. So I hope in the end it all turns out okay.
Very good, very good. Can't have nothing else to say about it. You guys said the whole thing. Joe, you got any comments on it?
Nope.
I'll make a motion to file.
Second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes to file. Okay. On the next one, here's the community nurse home care. Okay, let's see what we got here.
I could comment on this.
What's that?
I said I can comment on this.
Okay, you want me
It'll
to
be a
read
little
it
bit
out?
easier. The community nurses are the nurses that we hire to do our contact treatment, really. They're also the ones that do our communicable disease follow-ups with our residents. One of the biggest things that came out of this pandemic is the extreme amount of contact tracing that they have to do now. Again, they have to contact anybody that has had close contact with a positive, and then it can explode very quick how many people they have to contact. It can be 2 people or it can be 20 people. And by contacting them, they're essentially asking them or telling them that they need to quarantine themselves. So with the uptick of how much time and energy that our nurses have put in to the last couple of months, they have asked for they've asked for more money because they've had to actually hire or bring in other nurses to do more work. So there's basically 2 to 3 nurses working on our community, and we have been blessed and lucky enough to not have a lot of positives. I mean, I have that number too. I believe we're up to 62. But still, it's a lot of effort, and they're really the unsung heroes right at the moment. Matter of fact, we all know that Governor Baker just brought in the contact tracing team, which is actually helping all of the communities in Massachusetts do the contact tracing because of just the extreme amount of people. And this is also going to help us moving forward in regards to reopening our economy by being able to quickly identify who is a positive, get in touch with them and get them to quarantine quickly so that they don't potentially spread this disease. So the CEO of Community Nurses reached out and had this discussion about how much effort there was, and asked if there was, a way to talk to you guys about potentially getting some more money over the last few months that they've been working and even going forward. That being said, I have been able to secure a couple of grants from the state that will help us pay for these type of things. They're for staffing, for increased staffing. The nurses absolutely is part of that, PPE, and with what they're looking for. And also we also share our nurses with Fairhaven, and I know Fairhaven's already actually looked at this too. It's basically what they're asking for is like a 1 month stipend. So we're budgeted for $13,000 a year for the nurses. Basically, that works out to be it's about $1,100 a month that we pay to them, and they're looking for maybe an extra $1,100 a month over that time. That, in my opinion, seems reasonable with the amount of work that they've done. They basically do about 20 cases a week or so of the communicable diseases, the things that we have, especially coming up in the summertime. We have a lot of stuff that goes on with the ticks too, and they have to contact and check on those people. And that being said, they've done, what they have here is about 20 hours per month that they work on, and right now they're up to about 112 hours for just us. So the swing has been huge. So again, that is really what I'm bringing to you. The money would not come out of the town's budget. The money will come out of the secured grants. We do, as you guys as the board, do have to consider the fact that moving forward, our $13,000 budget with them may change. I mean, at this point, it's in our budget for $13,000, but they are very concerned moving forward. If we have a huge drop, hopefully we do, in the summertime, we get this under control. As we move into the fall, there's an awful lot of discussion going on about what could or could not happen. But the reality is, if it springs back up, if the disease springs back up and it creates some issues in the fall or in the winter time, we may need to spend more time on, the nurses may need to spend much more time on this. And rather than potentially sharing a nurse, we might need to have a nurse. So not only is that the budget or the amount of money that we have there up for discussion, but potentially maybe some other ideas moving forward with maybe sharing a nurse with another community, and looking at what that involves money wise. Definitely going to be a topic that will have to be brought up more so in the near future about how much that's going to ultimately be now moving forward.
So there's grant money available to support this?
Yes.
Spoke about that today, Joe?
Yep. If we looked at giving them, in a sense, the stipend of about $1,100, we could do that for 4 months. We could do that for 4 months without a concern. So that would get us back into March, that they've already done what they've done in March. It would give us April, May, and into June.
How much grant money do we have?
11,000.
So we have enough to cover 10 months.
Yes, depending upon what else we have. The first round runs out though at the end of May, and the second round runs out at the end of June. The way that this is, it's for immediate needs for the communities that's directly associated with this COVID-19, and there's limitations on what we can spend it on. One of them is the staff, but I don't think that we could stretch it out that way.
I see. So for now, we can make, we could pay the 4 installment right off with no cost to the taxpayers.
No cost to the taxpayers. No.
Okay, I'll make that motion.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
And
One
I
other
guess-
comment, Joe. After, if or when this virus is out of our sight and out of mind, is this going to stay with the fees that we're paying them now, or is this going to go back to the original fees?
It's really, in speaking with Lisa, or the CEO of Community Nurse, it's a really challenging topic at the moment because we don't really know what the new normal is going to be. So assuming that everything goes back to normal, yeah, I'm sure that's a discussion we could have with them.
Yeah.
But this is really ramped up the amount of work that they do for us because of the contact tracing and the way that, again, the governor has pushed this.
They were doing what, 20 hours a week, and now they're at a 60 hours a week or something like that.
112.
Wow. Yeah. So
April was 112, and the letter states that in May, they're already up to 32 for the first 10 days. So we're on target to put in another 100. So
Yep.
it's about 100 hours a month now instead of 20. You're talking about a
right.
5 times ratio.
Yeah.
Joe, what do we do moving forward? Does this mean that they will not sign the contract come July 1 for next year because the contract's obviously too low now?
Possibly, yes. I mean, it just came to me not long ago, and we haven't had a board meeting yet. We haven't had this moment to talk about it, but it is a serious, and again, they've been super kind and just wanting to have this conversation or start to have the conversation. And nobody knows, they don't know either. They know that they're doing a lot more work. The community tracing collaborative, which is what Governor Baker has brought in, is now directly linked up with our epidemiology network that we use for contact tracing, and what they might be able to actually take a lot of pressure off of them, because the nurses have the ability to allow the community tracing collaborative to do the contact tracing if they're overwhelmed. They have a tendency, though, what the nurses, they're great this way, but depending upon the cases and depending upon what it is, they'll pick those cases, that they'll keep those cases. Some of the other cases, like as the close contacts, those are the ones where the community tracing collaborative might get more involved in, rather than the actual people that have tested positive and are out of quarantine. It's actually the ones that they are quarantined, but they don't have symptoms and they didn't test positive. They were just close contact. Those are the ones that the community tracing collaborative would watch over. And then if it became a positive, or if it became, where somebody was symptomatic and or sick, they would pull it back into our nurse, so our nurses could track and stay in contact with them.
Is it possible to get another wave of grant money come July 1?
The thing that's coming down right now is going to be FEMA supported grant money, which is going to be a conversation that will be had between Julie, between the town administrator and myself in regards to kind of blanketing all of the potential issues that we've run into because of this. So that being said, FEMA is a much more challenging way to achieve, to get grant money. It's very specific, but it might be possible. It might be possible depending upon when the state of emergency is lifted. You know, that could potentially change everything, because the point of the state of the emergency is to be able to get the FEMA money in the event that it comes down the wire. So if we do get out of the declaration of emergency sooner than later, I would say no, we would not have a potential revenue source going into the future to help support the nurses.
Dave?
I guess we're gonna have to wait and see then.
Right.
Really.
It's gonna have to wait and see
Yeah.
where we end up here. So I think that's something that we'll keep on the agenda, of course.
We've been pretty lucky, Tom, that we've had these people for a long time.
Oh, I agree, and
The
their
price
increases
that
over the years have been minimal. So
I mean, we can't complain about the
no,
pricing that they
Just-
gave to us for all these years that we've been with them.
we just don't. We don't know we don't know what's going to happen in the future. So I mean, there's no way for us to even to guess at that. So at this time, what we need to do is just wait and see how things play out, and then in the next, keep this on the agenda, of course, for every meeting that we have, and we can discuss it further as we go along and see where if possible, we have funding from the state, or however we have to do it. But I mean, like you said, Bob, they definitely have done a fantastic job for the town over the years. I think when we hired them back 20 years ago,
Oh,
it was for $12,000, and they're at what, 13? I mean, so
I think they really treated us really good in all these years.
Absolutely.
They've been anything we've ever asked them to do, our clinics and flu clinics and everything. They were right there all the time. I think they did a fantastic job, and I really take my hat off to them people for doing the job that they've done.
that they're doing now, especially. But
And Joe, you're going to continue finding out if we can get something from FEMA also?
Yes, yep. We'll be working on that as a townwide thing. And if there's a possibility to put more money in there for the nurses, then absolutely, yep.
Okay, keep us informed of it.
I would make a motion to leave it on the agenda for the next meeting. And again, we have to discuss the situation with their contract, as Dave said, because we're going to have to see if they're going to be at that number or if they're going to be at an increase, and we don't know that yet. So we do have time, and when we plan our next meeting, we can discuss it at that point.
Okay, I have no problem with that.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Any other comments, Joe?
I'm not on the nurses, nope.
David, Tom?
All set.
Okay. Put that there for the side. Okay, we got the COVID-19 health agent. We got him up for a new contract for this year.
Well, before we jump to me, I wanted to, I'll just give you a quick couple.
Well, I just wanted to say one thing, Joe.
Okay.
They were telling me that you were going to work for us all for nothing this year. Is that true or false?
We'll see how far that goes.
I'm only kidding. I'm only kidding. I wanted to see if you lost any more hair in your head.
With that said, Joe, I think speaking for the board, we want to thank you for being right on top of everything that has gone on since this started, and you've been doing a great job.
Joe's done a great job. He's been in contact with the three of us, and I think he's been really essential for the town people and for the board. And he's looking out for everybody, and I really appreciate what he's done. He's done a very good job for us. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you guys very much.
I agree.
Have you guys read the contract for Joe's current year coming
I
2020?
have. Yes.
Any comments on it? Tom, Dave?
No,
I don't have any comments. I think everything basically is contractual.
Okay, can we have a motion to accept his contract as read for another year?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion accepted. And Joe, we got you for another year. Don't you back out on us now. No, you did a great job for us, Joe, really.
Just keep moving forward.
Yep, we got to move forward. Can't go behind. Okay, we approved septic plans. I've checked them out and I presume, David, have you checked them out? Tom?
Yes.
Everything on the list I've looked at. The only question I would have is 34 Porter Street. Joe, was it revised?
That one's back to the engineer to make the correction.
Okay.
Yeah, there was a couple of corrections on that one. On 34 Porter?
It was the driveway cross.
Right. I talked to Joe about that the other day. I don't know if he talked to you, David, that you're thinking about putting concrete. How about if we went with Schedule 80 pipe across that driveway instead of going through the expense of them people paying for concrete? Because then they're going to have to pay for 5 yards, and you're looking at $500 compared to maybe $200 for pipe, you know. And Schedule 80 probably do the same thing.
Well, he's got Schedule 80, Bob. My concern is because it's a pump system and the water's got to flow back, and unless it's put in proper bedding, if that pipe settles and flattens out, you're going to have a problem right there.
Yeah.
It's under the driveway. If they go and pave the driveway after, that's my concern, is that I don't want the pipe to move.
Yeah, I didn't see the elevations of the depth of that. Is there any elevations on that? Did you remember?
I think it was about 2 feet down.
Well, if they use a good dense grade in there instead of using natural soils and compact it in lifts of 3 or 4 inches at a time, I think they'd be pretty good.
I would tend to agree. He had no cross-sectional view of the trench.
Yeah.
Perhaps Schedule 80 in a bed of stone, 6 inches of stone around and on top of the pipe.
Yeah.
It won't move anywhere. I would be happy with that.
Okay.
So maybe we could just approve it pending a revised plan of that kind of a detail.
All right. Tom, you in
No,
favor?
that sounds fine.
Yeah, because I reviewed it and the question was about the pipe, and I says, I've seen a lot and done a lot with Schedule 80 pipe and compacted properly around the pipe. 2 feet down, that's pretty good depth. So I told Joe to ask you about it, and you can put the concrete, but if it's still not compacted properly underneath, the concrete ain't going to do nothing for it either. It'll have a tendency of probably cracking the pipe. So I would say if they compacted that trench properly, backfilled it properly, put stone around it underneath, I think it'd be all right. Save the people a lot of money. That's what I think we're here for, to help the people out. Right now times are not too good.
All right. So right now we're going to approve the 48 Lantern Lane, 15 Pope Street, 2 George Street, 278 Hamlin Street, 13 Manchester Lane.
Right.
So we can move on and go ahead. I'll make a motion to approve those.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes to accept them.
And Dave, did you want to make a comment on 34 Porter Street?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve Main Street, which is lot 5-5.1, map 3, and 34 Porter Street, which are both considered new construction, with the caveat that a revised plan is submitted for 34 Porter Street showing a cross-sectional detail of Schedule 80 pipe in a bed of crushed stone.
I'll second that motion.
Any specific size of stone? 3/8, ½ inch, 3/4,
3/8 would be fine.
3/8? Okay. Going to have that on plan then, right, Joe?
Yep, I'll get in touch with them tomorrow.
No,
Second.
I'm just saying, what size stone we're recommending for the job, that way it'd be on the plan, and then whoever does the job will know that they're gonna have to put 3/8 stone in there.
So the
Okay.
motion stands and it's been seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay, this is on, what's this Main Street map 3 lot
No,
5.15?
that was part of it.
I slipped that in as the first half of the motion. We're all set.
Okay,
So that's
All right.
also-
all right, that's all set also?
Yes.
Okay, can we schedule the next meeting?
Question on the nights. I assume we're on a Thursday because we should be on probably a night that somebody else, we only can do the Zoom meeting one at a time, right? So,
Yeah, if it's gonna go out live.
Yeah,
Um,
you're live right now, my friend.
yes, I understand. But like selectmen meet on Mondays and conservation meets on Tuesdays and everybody's got their day. We want to be off schedule from other boards, correct?
Yeah, right now, the only, we can modify this however you guys see fit. Right now, as I understand it, the only two boards that are meeting besides ourselves is the school committee and in the selectmen. So we could get I could get their schedule is similar to what it always is, the twice a week, but I could get a better, handle on when those meetings are being held and get you some different options if you want,
Yeah.
other than Thursday.
Why don't we hold off on the schedule of the next meeting until you can get further information on who is where and when and all of that. So
Got it.
for now, and then you can just inform us on what dates are available or what evenings are available.
Yep.
I don't know if that sounds.
That sounds all right to me. I mean, whatever you guys schedule for me.
Yeah, to set a date right now, I don't think we're really prepared to do that.
We may have to have an emergency meeting again to do something else in town because things always happen
Well,
around
we
here.
we can do that just.
Yeah.
In emergency meetings, we can be held over phones and stuff. So we don't. But as a regular meeting similar to this one, I think we should just wait till Joe can get more information on what would be the best evening or date.
I have no problem with that. Joe, you take it from there and let us know. And if we all can make it and we're all healthy, and we'll be here.
Do you have any particular days that work best for you now that you're all together? Or it does Thursdays, Wednesdays,
Well,
Tuesdays?
Thursday seems to be the night that, I don't know, it's up, whatever, it doesn't matter. But Thursday, if that works with everyone, and I think it seems to coincide with the other departments because someone else meets on Tuesday also, correct?
David, how
Yeah.
about you? Is that all right with you?
Yeah, Thursdays in general are good. I'm fine with that. And we can see, we can compare schedules and figure something out for a couple weeks down the road.
Okay, I mean, after this is all over, we can go back to our regular agenda on Tuesday nights.
I would agree, but since we're on the topic of meetings in the future, I'd like to throw it out there that as a town, we need to decide how we're going to allow meetings moving forward. Until realistically, until there's a vaccine in place, and when I say vaccine, the vaccine that works, not the first one that comes out, because who knows. We got to look at long term here, and we have to weigh the rights of property owners who abut properties that are having projects presented that want the right to go to meetings, but we also can't have meetings the old school way for as far as I can tell, for the rest of the year. And by that, I mean in small rooms. I do this, and part of my job requires that I go to meetings in 12 different towns, and they may be for conservation, board of health, planning board, you name it. And they're all in different venues, but the one thing they have in common is the meetings are always taking place in some small room. And I think that just can't happen moving forward. And we need to think as a town, we're not even doing Zoom, as a town. And we either have to start doing every meeting as Zoom because things are getting backed up on other boards, and we're going to hold up construction projects. So something's got to give sooner or later. And when I say sooner, I mean by June, as a town, either every board's going to be doing these Zoom meetings, which isn't fair to somebody who is in a butter to somebody looking for a variance at a Board of Appeals hearing, or abuts a project for the planning board, that site plan review with it might impact them. And not everybody is capable of doing, using the technology, and I think that as a town, moving forward, we have to seriously start talking about using like the elementary school gymnasium, which has very easy access in and out through the rear doors, and setting up seats in a grid 6 feet apart, or maybe 7 or 8 feet apart. So people feel comfortable going in with a mask on and sitting not near anybody, and then going to a podium that's all by itself so they can speak. And the board members at the table being 6 feet apart, spanned across left to right horizontally, however that might, need to be for a distance. And I think that moving forward, a lot of towns are talking about these types of things, or starting to talk about these types of things, because it's either that or you continue with Zoom until a vaccine is in place. Because if concerts aren't allowed, and sporting events aren't allowed, and graduations at high schools aren't allowed, and we certainly can't be asking people to go to a meeting in some jammed room, and feel comfortable, or safe. And so I think I'd like to see some more dialogue between, I know Joe has now approached Julie about it, and I think we need to start getting some serious dialogue with the Board of Selectmen on how to set the protocol moving forward for all of the boards that meet. You have Conservation, Planning Board, Board of Appeals, there are all kinds of boards. And I think boards that don't require public input should be done by Zoom. And because this isn't that hard, and those who need the help, we can give that help to them here at the town and give them the support they need. But other types of meetings that involve property owners, they should have a right to go to a meeting. And if they don't want to go to the meeting, they should also be able to Zoom into the meeting, and it could be a quasi type meeting. I was just talking to the town administrator, Marion, about it today, and that's what we were kicking ideas back and forth. And he had, that would be a concept moving forward that would be fair to everybody. Those who want to go to the meeting and don't want to deal with technology, or want to be in person, what's going on, and those that want to stay at home and be safer and do it that way. So I just want to throw it out there that the dialogue needs to start soon, because the economy starting back up, which is right in front of us, and the economy, is driven by a lot of the construction part of the economy is driven by projects, and projects need to be approved by a lot of town boards and agencies, and we need to start talking about how we're going to do that as a town. And that's about all I have to say on it. I'm hoping
I agree, but then again, holding those larger scale meetings, and I know I can understand, we do have the separation and distancing, but then again, we still need to follow DPH, the governor, and how they're reacting on these issues, because I'm sure they're coming up to them, and I mean, they're being approached by other communities, and it is a good idea, because people do want to get involved in the meetings again, especially like you said, Dave, especially like the Board of Appeals meetings, our meetings, where you have septic issues and all of that. But again, we want to still stay together with the governor and the DPH and follow those rules too. And that might be something that we should approach. Maybe the governor's departments, DPH, and I'm sure, like I said, I'm sure that other communities are doing that now. So I agree with you, Dave, to try to open it up like that would be something to look into. So maybe, I know Joe's schedule is very busy, but
we all have to take care of our health too, so we have to take care of ourselves also. If Joe gets sick or something and he can't come to the job and do his duties, we have to chip in and fill in for him. So we have to keep this thing going all the time. So we got to keep everybody healthy in these departments. That's including the whole town. So,
One bigger point is that town meeting is set for late June, and town meeting is not going to happen by Zoom.
No.
With 100 people on it, I don't even think it's possible. So town meeting, and you can't tell taxpayers that, sorry, only 10 people can go inside, and it's so something's got to give. And with the 10 people or less governor's order and moving forward by June, something's got to give, because the town needs town meeting in order to approve finances to move forward and pay and function, and you can't not have a town meeting, or you have no money to spend. Legally, you cannot spend a nickel after July 1. So something's got to give, and that's why I'm pointing out early, because I think that whatever we set up as a protocol as a town for all of the boards to start meeting with the general public being allowed to participate is really setting up how we're going to handle town meeting, So I just haven't seen enough talk about it. I haven't seen any direction from the governor's office, and it concerns me, because we're stagnant right now with projects getting approved in every town that I'm involved in, and sometimes I'm moving things along, and some are just doing nothing, and that's not going to help the already pummeled economy, So we got to start talking about it.
All right.
there's another little task for you, Joe. Let's look into it, see what we can do.
Oh, we're on it. We're on it. I just had more discussion today with the town administrator about it. And I even had a thought about doing, and David had alluded to this too, doing some sort of a combination type of meeting, or potentially having a remote location where the audience could be, or the people that are concerned about it, and versus where the approving board would be, to help separate that out a little bit. You could do this via Zoom, and as long as you could get the people to be able to have, like Dave said, access. Not everybody's going to want to deal with technology. They're going to want to show up. They're going to want to talk about it.
Well, the thing is, Joe, there was another community that they took a football field and they says we can separate the people 6 foot all the way around each other, and yet fit 1,000 people in the football field.
I think that would be great if it was in like Gillette Stadium, especially with those fancy cameras they have on top that zoom in on the players.
Yeah.
But if you get a lot of people, that's a whole lot of running around, and our cable guys would have to really figure out how to keep the cameras moving around.
Well, they'd be working for their money then, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's a good gesture, good idea, but our PA systems are not great for doing something like that, because we don't have that kind of systems in the town to go out into a football field like at our schools and all, to have and separate the chairs, and it's just a difficult thing right now. We're going to have to work on it and see what we can do.
Yep. Something's going to happen, because again,
All right.
we can't move forward without it.
Yeah, you got to move forward. You can't drop behind, because when you start dropping behind, it's not a good policy. We got to move forward. Okay, fellas, are we all set with what we've got tonight? And
I'm all set.
can we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second motion.
All in favor? Motion passes to adjourn at 6:58. Thank you for listening and watching, and we're out.